going to go and check out Aweside Farm, see what they do, how they do it. They've got a great story, and their product is fantastic. And I just wanted to go and check them out.
Good to see you again.
And you? How's it going?
Yeah, not too bad. Just tackling the impossible weed jobs at the moment. Yeah.
Let things get a little bit out of control. So
Easily done, isn't it?
Yeah.
it happens.
But yeah, just tried to get going again really. Had a bit of cold weather the last few months, haven't we? But things are starting to turn the corner, so yeah, it's good. So this is our first tunnel that we put up, which is surprisingly still standing. It does look a little bit battered from the inside, but yeah. So this is where we're starting off our flowers at the moment, aren't we?
Yeah, so we've got kind of most of our edible flowers are in here, and we try and like get some early season stuff going. So like this is the side of the farm where like most of our edible flowers and cut flowers are. So we've got things like Nigella. So we have like things that have overwintered. So we want to try and keep as much in the ground kind of all year round. So we use a lot of like hardy annuals and hardy perennials, so things like snapdragons, cornflowers, rocket. They've just been here this winter, and hopefully they'll start flowering soon. But they look like they're about to. But yeah, this is kind of a lot of like edible bits. So like edible rocket, cornflowers are behind you. Got a sweet rocket here, which kind of looks like that, but it's just purple and like a lot sweeter in taste, whereas that's quite like punchy and fiery, isn't it?
Yeah, but we're still a little bit way off of this actually looking like it's supposed to.
Like eagerly waiting for everything to just get going, and there's nothing you can do. It's just the weather,
It's
isn't
the
it?
weather.
So
The weather, the seasons.
Yeah.
You've got to go with it.
yeah, it's like which one is normal? Was last year normal?
Yeah.
Or is this actually like?
I suppose the last few years have been abnormal, obviously, because of COVID, but every year is going to be different, I suppose, a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah, we kind of like joke saying that every year you always hear that it's the driest, the wettest, the coldest, the hottest.
That's
and
true,
we
yeah.
always just say we're waiting for them to come out with and be like, this is the most normal year on record.
It's actually
Like,
just mediocre.
yeah, it's
Nothing
like
exciting.
this has
happened
never
this year.
happened
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
So we're waiting for that announcement to happen.
Well, we've just had the wettest March on record, so this year's out of the running for being mediocre.
Yeah, but we
so
could have the most normal April, May, June, and
July,
and so
yeah.
on.
Let's
fingers
hope.
crossed.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
And behind you is what? Did you say what you got behind?
This is Sweet Rocket.
Yeah.
So this is it. Will look like that,
Yeah.
but they're purple flowers, and like a lot sweeter in taste. And then we've got in between them gladioli flowers, so those kind of big long stems. So a lot of what we try and do with some of our beds is either like we just have like one big row of something, or if it's a perennial, we try and match it with like a bulb.
Yeah.
So then once these have died down in kind of like June, the gladioli will pop
Coming
up,
through.
and then just trying to make sure that like there's something always going on.
Yeah.
And then these are perennial as well, so they'll come back next season.
Okay.
So yeah, it's trying to like match things up so we have something in a bed all throughout the year.
Yeah.
Which is what we're aiming to do, but the weather often has like other ideas.
Of course. Yeah.
And like sees off a lot of stuff, but that's the kind of goal.
And in terms, say in here, I know we're indoors, but just being obviously it's warmer in here, but also in terms of bugs and insects and stuff like that. Do you do interplanting and things like that, or do you not need to do that in here?
We don't
so
really.
much of it in here.
No.
I guess because they're flowers, they already draw in
Yeah.
a lot of like insects, a lot of wildlife,
Yeah.
just because they're a source of food.
Yeah.
So generally, just by the nature of what we're growing,
Yeah.
we don't have to like worry too much about. Like, say if you were growing veg, you might want to put like chives with cabbages or something to try and like deter aphids.
Yeah.
It's not really a problem because a lot of these plants that we grow are already doing that, and because they're so close together, and we get a lot of things that self-seed. So there's Nigella that's popped up over there. There's borage that's wherever it wants to be.
Yeah.
So it's We do a bit of interplanting.
I mean, the other thing as well is like sometimes like the aphids tend to be more on like the stems of stuff as well.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of like if we're just picking the flowers, then a lot of the time it's unaffected. I mean, it's obviously not the case for everything. Like violas in the other tunnel, which we'll go to in a second, we do actually have to just basically like pick off like each individual aphid, which takes a while. But the majority of stuff sometimes is just untouched on the flowers, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah. I guess sometimes it's about like trying to put like some plants that benefit like kind of close together. So like nasturtiums are really good at attracting aphids, so we might put a load of nasturtiums next to something that we don't want so many aphids on. Like the bronze fennel is quite good with that gets covered in aphids, and we've got them around loads of chives.
Yeah.
So the ones that we have like bronze fennel with chives, we don't get as many aphids, but areas where we just have bronze fennel, it goes wild with aphids. But aphids aren't a bad thing because they attract ladybirds, and ladybirds are good. So it's that kind of like.
So the chives are a repellent.
Yeah. I think their scent just like kind of keeps things away a bit.
Okay.
But yeah, not so bad having kind of like outbreaks of like pests and stuff, because that is often like a big buffet for something else to come in, and it's just about trying to like create more like biodiversity, I guess. With
It's not neutralising it, but just managing it.
Yeah. So, and sometimes just accepting that like we can't harvest from this thing at this time. So like this time of the year we can't harvest from a few things, like the fennels and the fennel greens, but we know come like May, that's when the ladybirds come, they'll see it all off, clean it all up, and we can start picking from it again. So it's just that kind of like working with the season, I guess, and just...
Brilliant, Yeah, helpful.
Successfully large doorstop. So we put this one up kind of recently. This was actually a tunnel which blew down last year when we had the storms back in February, wasn't it, last year? This tunnel was at the back, but fortunately frame wise it all stayed in good condition, but we had to change the skin of it, so we just moved it down here, which is why it looks a bit more robust than the other one, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's really toasty. I think like the smallness of it is
Yeah.
quite helpful. Plus that one has like a side vent that's not fully closed off, so it is a bit cool.
Yeah, and also before, like when we had the storms, they've lifted some of the tunnels off the ground, so all the like the base rails around the bottom kind of got raised, whereas I guess here there's not really any air gaps. And we don't have we'll probably suffer in the summer a bit, but I guess this one just has a door at the front, not one at the back, so it traps in the heat a bit more. But yeah, so like we've done this tunnel up maybe like within like the last month and a half or something, wasn't it?
Yeah. A month ago.
Yeah, so again just another flower tunnel really, isn't it, this one?
Yeah, so we've got carnations in there, violas, then this is a perennial bed, so it's got phlox, and then so that will come up in the summer.
What's phlox?
They're like really tiny little flowers. I don't really know how to explain them other than like, it's tiny flowers, but they're like as a cluster, so like they'll send out a shoot and then they'll have this big kind of bubble of flowers on them, and then we just pick off all the small flowers individually. But they've got like, I guess, this kind of understory thing that we're trying to do, where they've got primroses and Bellis daisies, which will come up in the winter. They'll die down once it gets a bit hot, and at that point the phlox will start to like come up, whereas each year the phlox will die down, it will disappear for the winter, and then it will start coming up. So just trying to like mismatch the times of and making sure that there's something kind of in this bed. And then this is an experiment with some like dianthus that I'm not entirely sure it's going to stay. They're quite awkward to pick from, so we'll see.
And when you pick things like flowers, do you use scissors, or you're able just to pick them off, or how does it work?
I mean, it's mainly just fingers really, isn't it?
I mean, it is.
Yeah.
But most stuff is just like
Finger picking, pinching.
With the hands,
I mean, it's quicker, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there is anything we use scissors for, but...
I mean, it'd only be if something's on stems. If it's more for like a cut flower purpose, then obviously you're not going to have like individual flowers picked for that. But it just makes more sense with hands, doesn't it? More dexterity.
And what percentage of your flowers and stuff like that is perennial, would you say, do you reckon?
So maybe about 50-50. Or a lot of it's like self-seeders, so they're not like perennial, but they'll seed themselves and then they'll come back. So I guess they're like kind of plants that they take care of themselves. But I'd say there isn't, as we go like kind of more forward, there isn't as much that we need to keep sowing. So it'll be kind of annuals like cosmos, zinnias, maybe nasturtiums self-seed themselves pretty well.
Just not in the places where you want them to be.
Yeah, they'll never go where you want them. They'll just pop up in random places, like really far from when you like originally grew them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's probably about 50-50, I'd say.
Yeah.
Of like starting stuff from seed, and then a lot of it's just sorts itself out. Yeah.
Cool. Super.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll show you where we grow the bulk of our flowers.
Yeah.
It's not really a lot to see because it's winter,
Of course.
so it's a lot of like empty beds. But we're like starting to get things in now, just kind of flipping all the beds over from like the weeds that we just left in, I guess, for cover over the winter. That's what we'll tell ourselves.
Yeah, so this is our, will be the flower block, won't it, for all our edible stuff.
Yeah.
We done all these beds a couple of years ago.